In its infancy, the whole of creation glimmered against the dark void. But one place in the universe outshone all others, for it glowed brilliantly with a magical energy known as mana. The world was eventually discovered, and the first pioneers settled the land. The people dedicated their lives to separating mana from nature in order to command its powers. However, after centuries of fruitfulness, the land was rendered barren by man's insatiable greed. Fierce competition between wizards degenerated into war, great creatures being summoned to do their creators' bidding in the ensuing struggle. But the life breathed into these creatures was charged with evil, and the beasts turned against their masters. Fearing for his life, a foolish wizard and his young apprentice prepared a spell, hoping to scatter his opponents to oblivion. But the power of the spell was greater than even he could have foreseen. The whole world shook with a mighty earthquake, in which the wizard himself perished, leaving his apprentice with the arduous task of restoring the world to equilibrium.
Do not be disheartened. You must return the realm to nature's order.
Yo, welcome to a MAME welcome to MAME Politics, episode 98, the Fall Down the Stairs edition. Whew. Sorry about the little blankness after that intro there. No, but serious, guys. I need you to look at the screen right now. Don't look at me. Look at Magic Carpet in stereogram mode, which is now playing on screen in beautiful 3D stereogram mode. This is historically important because it is, as far as I know, the only video game that ever implemented a stereogram 3D mode in their 3D engine. It's pretty cool because Magic Carpet was very ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It's a Bullfrog software game. They didn't make a whole lot of games. I think they mostly did like Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's what they got famous for. But before that, they made this really cool game called Magic Carpet, where it's sort of almost like a real-time strategy game where you build castles, you have to protect your castles, it's kind of like a real-time strategy game mixed with a death match where you're basically fighting against someone else who plays exactly like you. The AI is incredibly good for the time, way better than like Doom or other first-person type 3D games. So yeah, kind of cool. I think it's really cool. But as Rottencom is saying in the chat right now, that he could never do those 3D image things. Some people can't do them, but for some reason this game actually implemented a live stereogram mode, which is kind of fucking ridiculous, actually. It just is a really bizarre way to actually play a game, because you have to look at it with your eyes crossed the entire time. Not fully crossed, but partially crossed. So, as I said in the chat, I am a couple drinks in. It is a Saturday night. So I hope you don't mind my more gregarious behavior. This will not be on the level of a Tim Heidecker Oscar special, but it might have a similar vibe. Accidentally. I'm not trying to channel that, but yeah. Hey Catherine, hey Robo. Hey Jenny, hey Truth. Hey, this ain't real. This ain't real. Cyberpunk game. What was your body mod customizations like? What would you equip your character with? Tell us all. So did anybody happen to see any of the footage from the Stop the Steal rallies in DC today? There was a particularly funny clip of Michael Flynn, I guess, was at this Stop the Steal rally. And at one point, Alex Jones, who was also at the Stop the Steal rally, goes up to, I guess, meet Michael Flynn. He's never met him before, or he sort of wanted to buddy up to him. And he walks up to Michael Flynn, sort of in this small crowd of people. And Michael Flynn looks visibly uncomfortable to even be standing next to Alex Jones, and gives him the total brush off, kind of get the fuck away from me vibes, but still trying to be kind of friendly. And Alex Jones looks like he's clearly like ego blown, like cock blocked. You could tell it was an embarrassing moment for Mr. Jones. So I don't know why that clip was so entertaining to me, but I think it's partly because I see them both as sort of volleying, or no, that's a wrong word to use, vying for control over the conspiracy narrative that dominates in this country right now. And Alex Jones sort of lost his standing to a large degree in terms of being in control of that train, the guy who's driving that bus. Alex Jones is no longer that person, and kind of in a weird way, Michael Flynn is, because of the Q movement. Michael Flynn, in his own weird little way, has his own little version of the MAGA cult. So if you think of anybody inside the Trump cult, like his surrogacy, the sort of the cult leaders within the MAGA cult, none of them have anywhere near Trump's level of cult devotion, except for Michael Flynn. And maybe that's just because he's somehow part of Q, or Q acts like they love him. I don't know what that means. I don't know if Michael Flynn is part of Q or not. It wouldn't surprise me at all at this point, based on what we already know with Ron Watkins working with Sidney Powell, who is also Michael Flynn's lawyer. Ron Watkins, even if he's not posting as Q, him and his father have control over the entire security apparatus that runs on 8kun, and can post as Q at any time if they wanted to, and can also withhold Q posts that they don't like. So this is something else that Frederick Brennan brought up that's interesting. Let's say that Ron and Jim Watkins are not Q, that they don't have anything to do with the poster. Doesn't matter, because on some level they can still actually filter Q's posts. So if Ron and Jim Watkins don't like a Q post, they can just not have it go through. So that's an interesting premise to think that maybe they're separate people. Maybe Ron and Jim Watkins don't even know who Q is, but that Q on some level, whoever Q is, knows that they need to work with or cooperate with a certain narrative that Jim and Ron Watkins want to get out on 8kun/8chan. So that's a dynamic that I didn't really express or understand in my interview with Frederick or the QAnon episode, but after the past, over the past couple of weeks, I've sort of come to this understanding that it could be sort of a mutually beneficial relationship where it's possible that people who are running it from the 8kun and 8chan end still don't know who it is, but they're working with whoever it is, and they're just sort of maybe assuming that it's someone close to Trump, or they'd like to believe it is. And it probably, I mean, it's got to be someone who is tapped into the Trump campaign on some level, even though in reality, there's never really been anything that Q has done that's proven that it is close to Trump. So that's also interesting. It's like we're sort of riding on a lot of the assumptions here based on how popular the movement has gotten and the power of it, but it still could be some kind of LARP on some level. It still could technically be that, but it could be a LARP that's been turned into a useful sort of psyop for a certain sect of the deep state. I've sort of come around from my thinking that it is from the ground up some kind of psyop. I think more likely it's somehow being managed or controlled by people in the government, if that makes sense. So I don't know if anybody new has just joined the chat. What I'm showing on the screen right now is a stereogram live 3D version of the game Magic Carpet, which I was just playing before this started. So if you cross your eyes while looking at this screen right now, you'll actually see a 3D video game being played. It's pretty weird, but it pretty much works. But yeah, I'm not going to play Magic Carpet today. I'm going to play Mean Streets. Which is a game made by an American software company from the 80s called Access Software. It's an interesting company because I'll just tell you a little backstory, and this is an Abby story also. So I highly doubt she's watching right now, but Abby, if you are, I'm telling a little childhood story of ours. So Abby and I sort of used to bond when we were maybe in middle school. She was maybe in middle school. I was early high school. We weren't like super good friends. We would fight all the time, like when we were, sort of at odds with each other. I didn't like some of her friends. She didn't like some of my friends. But one thing we bonded over back then was like PC DOS games, which was kind of a fun thing to experience that with her. And like, I don't even think we really played video games together as children, really. She wasn't really that into Nintendo. I was more like I grew up on video games. I don't even think she had a video game system, but it was when we got our PC that she actually got into games, and we would play adventure games together, which if any of you guys have played like, old school DOS or Windows games, adventure games was probably the most popular genre of PC game for a really long time, where it's, if you're familiar with the game Maniac Mansion for Nintendo, that might be a lot of people's entry point into adventure games. I never played that growing up. My entry point was games like Leisure Suit Larry or other games by Sierra like Day of the Tentacle, like that game I was showing you guys yesterday. I think was it yesterday? Relentless. It's kind of an adventure game. But they're mostly point and click sort of discovery games. And on some level, like most AAA games, most big budget modern video games that aren't just straight up first person shooters, adopt on some level, they integrate adventure game mechanics into them now. Even though I feel like something like Red Dead Redemption, there's different games that do that, but they kind of just half-ass implement it. These older games are completely dependent on like discovering items in a room, learning clues, figuring things out, and that kind of stuff. There's usually very little action. It's mostly all just sort of point and click, atmosphere, discovery, lots of dialogue, talking to characters. And this game, Mean Streets by Access Software, is the first game in what's called the Tex Murphy series. I believe there are 3 of them. There's the night, I think it's the Night of the Killing Moon or Night Under the Killing Moon is probably their most famous game. I've actually never played that one because just a backstory about these games. When I was like in middle school, I already started to collect video games a little bit. Like I would buy like used SNES cartridges and stuff like that at garage sales. But when I got a PC, I sort of realized that a lot of older games, like that were like maybe 4 or 5 years old, you know, before the time I got a PC, which was probably like 93 or 94, that era before I got one, so like 5 years before that, I mean, there was a lot of games coming out for PC that like had what one would consider like 16-bit graphics or like, you know, better than Nintendo graphics. And I was, you know, kind of obsessed about graphics. I really wanted like better and better graphics, like a lot of kids sort of wanted back then. And so I would basically just buy garage sale DOS games that looked cool from the screenshots on the back. You know, how else did they market games to people other than just like cool looking screenshots? And most DOS games, you know, by any measurement, at least before Doom or Wolfenstein, were pretty boring. But it was the adventure games that would always sort of like capture my attention. They would always have really, really good art. There was the game Dark Seed, for example, that's an H.R. Geiger worked on game that has like H.R. Geiger art going out throughout the whole thing. It's pretty incredibly, like, it has like great aesthetics for an adventure game. So it was games like that I would see like garage sales or like at thrift stores like Salvation Army. I'd be like, oh, you know, it's only $5. I'm going to buy this. Because even back in the mid 90s, it was still hard to find like an SNES cartridge for $5. You might have been able to find one for $20 if you were lucky on the used market. But typically in the mid 90s, when, you know, SNES, NES cartridges you could find for like $5. But at that time, I was more interested in like 16-bit graphics, like, you know, digitized graphics or like digitized sound. I was kind of over Nintendo. So this game, my neighbor, actually, like in the cul-de-sac I grew up in with Abby, was selling like a bunch of old DOS games, you know, full box manuals, you know, everything. And they were like on floppy disk. And this was before CD-ROM DOS games. In 1989, you know, it was before like CD-ROM was really a thing on computers. So I found Mean Streets. I found a game called Martian Memorandum. I found a game called Crime Wave. So I didn't realize it when I bought all of them at the time, but those 3 games were all part of the same software company. They were made by this American, very small company called Access Software. And so I purchased those 3 games for like $5 each, or the guy at the garage sale had like a deal, or it's like buy 3, get 1 free. And then I purchased an additional one called, I think it was called Stunts. It's a racing game for the PC where you build your own tracks. It's kind of like race driving, the arcade game, but it's way better because you can build your own shit. And it plays way smoother and nicer. So bought those 4 games. Ended up loving the shit out of Martian Memorandum and Stunts. And I played through almost all of Martian Memorandum, which is the second game in the Tex Murphy series, with Abby. And it was actually funny because I think I was like 13 at the time, and Abby might have been like 10 when we were playing the game together. And we got really stuck on this one part of the game where you go to Mars and you're supposed to get a prostitute. The game is kind of like a ripoff of Total Recall in a weird way. It didn't come out in 89. This sequel to this one came out in like 90-something. So I remember there was a phone number on the manual in the box. So I was like, I wonder if this phone number still works. It's like a 5-year-old game, you know, let's call it. So we called the phone number, and the guy answered the phone as Access Software. It was like the Access Software office. And even as a 13-year-old, I could tell it was just one guy who picked up the phone, and it was like I was like almost calling his house, pretty much. Definitely didn't sound like I was calling an office. And so I explained to him, "Hey, me and my sister are stuck on Martian Memorandum at this one part, and like halfway through the game. Can you help us?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that we put out that game like I don't know, like 4 years ago." He's like, "What's part are you stuck on?" And he let us call him like every fucking day. He must have thought it was like super cute that these kids were calling him to get like walkthrough advice on this game. But he like totally entertained it. He stayed on the phone with us until we beat the parts. Even I remember even stayed on the phone with us until he made sure we beat one of the parts, because he like acknowledged that there was some programming issue where it was like really tricky to click on this one thing and shit. So we did it. And then at one point in the game, like when he was helping us, he's like, "Wait a second, how old are you guys?" And I had told him how old we were, and he was like, "I don't know if you guys should be playing this, but if your parents are okay with it, I'm okay with it. But it's a kind of an adult game. It wasn't meant for kids when we made it." And he was right. It's like a noir, hard-boiled crime thriller where you fuck a prostitute on Mars. It's like Total Recall. It's trying to basically be like Total Recall. So yeah, he helped us like beat the game. It was pretty rad, and we did. And there's another game that actually Abby and I played together that I want to play at some point on this on MAME Politics. It's called Wrath of the Gods. It's a DOS. It's a really silly DOS game that just you go through the whole story of like all the different Greek mythologies. You fight Medusa, you do all that stuff. You cross the river Styx, and it's all using really cheesy digitized graphics and digitized scenes. And so Abby and I might actually do a double feature. We might do Night Trap and Wrath of the Gods when she's here. So she's going to be up here for Christmas. I don't know exactly when that's going to be yet. She did just have a kid, and she is, it's hard to like find time windows. So when she's able to find one, we might just kind of stream impromptu, which will be pretty cool too. I'm going to go to little boy's room, and I'll be right back. But enjoy the Magic Carpet stereogram. Nobody said that they can see the stereogram. Is really nobody in this chat can see a stereogram? Is that what's going on? Okay, I'll be right back. I am disappointed. It's true. I have to acknowledge I am really obsessed with 3D. It's something I think that other people don't share my enjoyment of very much, but I always go see movies in 3D when I have the opportunity to. I actually have like a rating system in my mind of like which movies have the best 3D, and I have like a kind of encyclopedic knowledge of 3D movies. Yes, Black Fox, we can see you. How's it going? And I think I've already said this on the show. I have a 3D Blu-ray collection, which I really enjoy. At some point, I actually want to do some cut up, sort of plundered. I don't know if I would call them Vic Berger style, but like just sort of like cut up and abstract cut ups of 3D photography and 3D movies, and sort of project them at some kind of show. Oh, Level Anchorage, of course. Daniel Crawford, in terms of the best 3D movie, That's hard. In terms of my movie that I think has the best 3D, that's not even a good movie. That's a hard one. Because in my mind, I'm like, what's the best movie that's in 3D? That one's easier to answer. And I think that would probably be... Maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon might be the best, like, the highest quality movie that's in 3D. That movie was originally shot in 3D. A lot of movies were shown in 3D back in, like, when they came out, but they would be red and blue anaglyph, I think that's how you call it, 3D glasses. So it looks like shit. But a lot of those older movies, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, have been re-released on Blu-ray, which is compatible with like a 3D television, and they look incredible. They're totally remastered. The 3D is real. It's actually filmed. It's not converted. Any movie that you see today, with the exception of maybe The Hobbit, Gemini Man, and Prometheus, were not shot in 3D. They were all converted to 3D using some kind of software process. Daniel Crawford, yes, they do require 3D glasses. And 3D glasses can be usually two different kinds for a 3D TV. They can be shutter glasses, which rapidly close each eye on and off. I've never used those, actually. Or you can get the polarized light glasses and the TVs that are compatible with those. And those are, I think, easier on the eyes. That's what I use. They're polarized light. They just look sort of dim. Like the glasses just have sort of a dim look on them. But if you have a nice TV, like an OLED, is that how you say it? That has really good contrast, it's not a big deal. Like, it doesn't dim it too much. Yes, I smoke weed, Black Fox. I can see all your messages. I can see them. Okay, I'm gonna exit out of this game and get into the game we were gonna play, because the purpose of choosing this game was so I can just like casually talk with you guys, because it's an adventure game, and I've already just like done a bunch of talking without actually loading up the game. So okay, there it is. So what's funny is a lot of these DOS games have a copy protection scheme, which if you're as old as me, you probably remember that if you like pirated Wolfenstein as a kid, you basically had to get from your friend a photocopy of the manual, or just remember the stuff that it says on the certain parts of the manual. And actually, some PC computer games were clever. They would put in the manual, make it really hard to photocopy it. So you would actually, like, if you tried to photocopy it, it would just come out black. You wouldn't be able to see the code you're supposed to type in. But luckily, on the DOSBox emulator, the entire ROM set that you can fairly easily get is all cracked. And meaning all you have to do is just hit enter on all these prompts, and it goes straight into the game. I actually was disappointed when I first loaded some of these up, because I thought that they were copy protected and I wasn't able to play them, but that's not the case. It just seems like they are. Boom, in the game. So I just had to hit enter. I didn't actually have to look up the manual. Hey John, how's it going, man? I am drinking it's basically a Greyhound, with crushed ice, with some sparkling wine in it. So it's like a mixture. It's a Greyhound, which is just gin, grapefruit juice, and some sparkling wine. So yeah, let's get Main Streets going. It's got a pretty... Do you guys hear anything right now? You don't, do you? I'm getting like a weird DOS DC sound error where I can see it looks really loud, but I don't think any sound's coming out. Do you guys hear anything? Oh, now it's going. No game sound. Really? Okay. So I've been given $10,000 cash by my client and I have 5 leads. So I'm a private detective. Jesus, I have to spell their names correctly? That's crazy. So this game's a little funny. It starts sort of almost like a driving sim where you're in a flying car in San Francisco. So I got to take a picture of this screen because I'm not going to remember this. Okay, so controls are slightly complicated. Just slightly complicated. External views, F5, F6, hover up and down, toggle warp, phone Vanessa, phone Lee, navigation computer, N. Okay, let's see what's on the navigation computer. Okay. Destination position, current position. Where do I want to go? Should I go to Reno? No, I feel like I should stay here. Enter navigation code. What the fuck? Oh, I probably have to get one. Okay, what does the fax say? Here's that article on Linksey's death. Noted professor found dead. Prominent University of San Francisco professor Carl Linsky was found dead early Sunday in what police are calling a suicide. West Precinct Detective Steve Clement said a witness saw Linsky jump from the Golden Gate Bridge about 11:20 last night. A suicide note was also found at his home addressed to his daughter Sylvia. Linsky's fiancée, Dolores Lightbody, indicated that the professor had been under a great deal of stress and had taken a leave of absence from his teaching duties at the university. All right. Okay, so does that mean I should go to the Golden Gate Bridge, or what does that mean? Oh, shit. Wait a second. This is kind of... The driving fucking crazy sucks. Shit. Where's the Golden Gate Bridge? Okay, basically I need to get to Carl Linsky's office. So where the fuck is his office? Is the issue. Let's see. I'm gonna turn on autopilot. It won't let me. Autopilot's not working. Autopilot toggle. Okay. Try that. Okay. Alright. So it's autopiloting me somewhere. Not sure where. Okay, so I need to... I guess I'm just going to try calling someone. I'll call Vanessa first.
What's up, Tex?
What? Are you kidding me?
Can't help you there.
Holy shit. It's cryptic as fuck.
Can't help you there.
Holy shit. Okay. What's the guy's name? Do you guys remember what his name was? I'm gonna go to my inventory, see if I have the fax in there. No, I guess not. I guess the fax is not in my inventory. So okay, Carl Linsky. Okay, I'm gonna ask her about Carl Linsky, I guess. It sounds like the only thing I can do. Let's try it.
Yes? Okay.
Huh?
There's nothing in our file. There's nothing in our file.
Dude, okay. Maybe the other person I'll try calling. Who else do I need to call? Phone Lee. Okay. Lee is someone, I guess, another resource I have.
What do you need, Murphy? What's it worth?
Ha!
Be realistic.
Okay. How much should I give her? Tell me how much. You guys tell me how much I'll offer. I already tried 100. Not enough. Not enough money. $1K? Seriously? I'm gonna try 800. I'm taking Manny. lowballing her.
That seems fair.
Okay. So 10 seconds, I get into facts. I guess. Or do I ask her something else? Let's see.
What's it worth?
Wait a second. Do I get a fucking fax or not? Did I already wait 10 seconds? Okay, cool. It's blank. That'd be funny if she just didn't send me shit. Oh, man. Oh, this is easy. Okay. 4660. All right, let's do autopilot engage. Get on this shit. It feels good to actually know how to play one of these old ass games. Or barely know how to play. Fuck, I didn't actually remember what the fucking paper said. Fuck! Does anybody remember what it said? Shit. Does anybody remember what the fax said? Holy shit. Somebody rewind the stream and tell me. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Okay. Appreciate it. Destination locked and loaded. Here we go. Cool. Why is this blowing your mind, Ron? Are you guys like young? I'm just assuming everybody here is my age, so this is like totally normal. This is how all PC games used to be. Except the 3D driving stuff is a little unusual, I would say. This game is called Mean Streets. It's in the title of the video. Okay, she already sent me that shit. Got it. Do I have to do it again? Okay. Hell no, it's not based on the movie. Okay, so I think I'm on my way to the destination, I think. And then I think I need to, like, land. Okay, so how do I go down? Holy shit. I don't have the right button on my keyboard. Fuck. Fuck. Oh, no, wait. It actually landed for me. Okay, so I could just auto drive. Okay, so that makes it easier. The 3-story Queen Anne style home of Professor Carl Linsky has been well kept. I step inside and notice the quaint style of furniture and decor. Cool. All right. I think for episode 100, John, I might play probably my favorite video game of all time, Mortal Kombat 2. I haven't played that yet on here. So, I might do that. Lewis, this is not Blade Runner. It's something that's essentially kind of trying to copy the vibe of it. It's a video game noir, sort of cyberpunk, futuristic game. So let's see. Taste. I can taste things. I'm a little confused. Look. Give me some suggestions. Give me some freaking suggestions here, guys. Oh, there. Get the book. Get the cabinet key. Okay. Painting. All right. Can I taste the painting? Is this painting different? I mean, is this cabinet different? No, I guess. Let's see. No. I'm going to go try to get that. It's funny, I can't tell if this game uses digitized graphics or not. It kind of looks like the character is. To a degree. Digitized. Okay, obviously I'm going to taste that shit. You lift the bottle to your lips and remember your promise not to drink while on a case. What the hell, you say, and pour the entire contents down your throat. Cool. Let's see. The actual bar. I guess my bar is filthy. What it's saying. I'll go to the bookshelf. So I'm at the guy's house, I believe. Bookshelf doesn't have any triggers for looking at stuff. This kind of does. Looks like a light switch. What? Oh, I tried to taste the light switch and it says that I electrocuted myself. Okay, so turn on the lights. Yes, it is a chessboard. It absolutely is. I'm going to... Turning on and off the cabinet sounds a bit demented, it's telling me. Okay, well, what about opening it? Okay, what about my key? I can't open it with the key? Dear Professor, looking forward to our date Saturday. Love, Sandra Larson. Okay. I'll try chess. Someone wants me to sit down in the chair. I'll try that too. Any other suggestions? I'm going to the chessboard here. Walk so fucking slow in this game. I'll try to sit on the couch. Coffee table. Coffee table is made of brushed aluminum. Chess set. Appears to be fastened down. The chessboard is set up with all the pieces except one. A bishop is missing. Okay. The handwritten note says, I'm going to get you for failing me. Linsky. Okay, so obviously that's who killed him. Okay. Not really seeing anything useful there. Oh yeah, can I call? Can I just call from here? Or do I have to get in my car? I guess I can't call from here. It doesn't look like. The note is a handwritten letter to Dolores Lightbody. It says, Dolores, I'm calling our relationship off. It has nothing to do with Sandra Larson. I just know there are other whales in the sea, and can I read it? I guess I can't read the whole thing. So this guy was fucking around. Okay, so digital tape player. The grade sheet is for an advanced psychology course. The name of one of the students is circled Blaze Weiner. The grade received is an E. Okay, so we have 3 names to ask about. Can you guys help me remember? Blaze Weiner. And then Sandra Larson, I think, is the third person. Yeah, it is pretty clear, Jenny. I agree with you. This dude was he's one of those college professors who's just in it for the ass, apparently. So, digital tape player. Okay, so On and off. You slip the tape you found in the desk into the tape player. The voice on the tape cries out, "They're in my head. They're in my head."
They're in my head! They're in my head!
Wow. Should I taste the tape? For a major appliance, its flavor is about average. Very clever. All right. I feel like I've kind of exhausted everything in here. Although I feel like that cabinet key. How do I open that goddamn cabinet? Okay, I guess I can't open it. What's the fax say again? All right. What do you think? Should I leave? Should I get the fuck out of here? Yes, I did check the library, John. It didn't seem like anything was there. It's not letting me view it when I get near it. I agree with you on that, Luis. For sure. For sure. I'm gonna phone Vanessa. She knows what's up. She's gonna be able to help with my problem.
What's up, Tex?
This looks like the chick in RoboCop.
Can't help you there.
What was the other person's name? Something wider? You guys remember? Fuck, I already forgot. I already forgot. Nancy Allen? Or are you guys talking about a TV show? Blaze Weiner? Really? Is that the name? Okay. Jeez, I don't even remember. I have a terrible memory, short-term memory.
Can't help you there.
So this... I was going to say bitch, but... This person is very unhelpful. So let's go to someone else. Let's go to Lee... I tried Sadra already.
Murphy. Sorry, can't help you.
I swear to God, if she can't tell me about Blaze Weiner, I'm giving up on this game. I'm not joking. That's how defeatist I get.
Sorry, can't help
Fuck. Okay, if I will promise to continue playing if someone wants to shepherd me through this nightmare of an adventure game. Oh, sorry.
What's it worth?
Finally. Was your suggestion $500, Jenny? Fuck it.
Look for my facts.
Jeez, okay, so I go even lower. What's the threshold here? 30 seconds.
Sorry, can't help you.
Hey, Ned. Good to see you. All right. Well, I gotta wait for goddamn facts. Fucking jerk. Let's drive around this bullshit. Did I die? What's the deal? Hey, the guy who plays Ned Ryerson in Groundhog Day, what do you think is the sleaziest role he's ever played? Because I'm going to go with single white female. I don't know the actor's name, but I was just trying to think. That character actor who plays Ned Ryerson, he hasn't played that. He hasn't been in a whole lot of movies, but for some reason my mind goes to single white female as being like his sleaziest role. Where he's just trying to fuck the main character. Bridget Fonda in that movie. That's like peak Bridget Fonda too. Bridget Fonda, underrated, hot 90s actress. Underrated. Where's my goddamn facts? Take fucking forever. I don't think he was in Fargo, Lewis. I'm glad you agree, Ned Ryerson. Although I feel like I am forgetting different roles he has been in, because he's definitely been in some sleazy roles. It's almost like Miguel, is it Miguel Ferreira, the actor who's in Twin Peaks? How he always plays like sleazy or shitty person roles where he's just like a bad person. I still think his role in RoboCop is one of the best. Talk to Bash the Goat if you want to find Blaze. My sources say they're good friends. Jesus Christ. Also, how funny is it that in 2033 you still get faxes in your fucking car? Oh, thanks, Robo. You rule. Thank you. Bash Godot doesn't seem to have a navigation code, though, I'm noticing. Bash Godot is more of a mystery. I feel as though I have to speak to Valerie, the person's name that starts with a V, to figure out where Bash Godot's at. I don't know. I'm going to try.
Hello, Tex. Can't help you there.
Did I spell that correctly? Dead Goat, not Godot. It's like fucking thinking of the Wonder Woman actress. Sweet!
Can't help you there.
Brock, 100% right. She is a poor man's Nancy Allen. A lot of these games back in the day would just hire like actresses or people that looked sort of like Hollywood people, because they had to do so little work. It was almost like a porn role. I mean, it's actually probably less work than a porn role, because You're just shot for. You're just like still. These are like still photos, even just like voice acting. So it's pretty pretty bare bones. The guy who does the voice of Duckman is Rich. What's his name? The guy who does George from Seinfeld is the same guy who does Duckman. Duckman's voice. So am I waiting on this goddamn fax or what? Yes, Jason Alexander is the character George from Seinfeld. Thank you. All right. Here we go. Hmm? Strange. Okay. Didn't look like it took. Why not? Is it because I'm still on the ground? Okay, this might be a problem. If I'm still on the ground and I can't take off, this might be a problem because my keyboard, guys, it doesn't have a home or an end button. I don't know if you can see that on here. So unfortunately, I might need to end it here because I need to get like an actual full-size keyboard. Some of these DOS games require buttons that the cheapest keyboard you can buy on Amazon don't have, apparently, which include the buttons home and end. So, shit. What I might do is return to this game after I've reached this point. So now that I know what to do, I might just go through it and continue this game at another point because, yeah, I kind of like it and I want to keep playing through it. But I think in general I might play more adventure games on here. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom one more time. I'll be right back. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do have a function key. What can I do for home or end? Which F key is home and end if I do a function key? Plus function plus the right arrow, and that functions as the end key. Oh, thank you. Let's try that. It's not working. That's not doing it. Oh no! Left arrow. Yes. Holy shit. Left arrow. Left arrow did it. Okay, now let's try. Shit. Sorry. What? Did I type it in wrong? 4657? 4657. Shit. The fuck? 4657. How come I'm not able to type a fucking 4-digit code now? What the fuck is happening? I'm super confused. 4567. Still not letting me type in or more than 4 digits. That's so strange. Now I'm really confused. Maybe it's a glitch. Okay, can I exit? No. Okay, I'm in the air. I swear. Oh, I had number lock on. That's why it wasn't working. Okay. Whew. There we go. Cool. It's a little odd, though. I don't know where I mean... I'm not moving, as they say. Maybe I have to. Maybe autopilot can't be fully engaged unless I do this. See what happens now. I am at a loss. I can't tell if it's actually going where I'm supposed to go or not. No fucking idea. It's like back in the day when you would play DOS games, a lot of the time you'd be like, wait, is it working or isn't it? That is actually like a normal occurrence when you play a DOS game. It's not, you don't typically experience that when playing like Super Nintendo or Nintendo, but on DOS, there are a lot of times where I was like, the minutes are passing. I don't know if this is working or it's not. And then it's like, oh, it's actually, that's what I was supposed to do. I agree, Ned. This is the future that the Chinese want. Let's talk about that for a second, actually. I'm not going to be on here for too much longer, so let's close out with some political discussion. Did you guys see Greenwald's newest Substack piece about the Chinese scholar who revealed the ultimate master plan of the Chinese government infiltrating America and being able to control it? Did you see that? That Glenn Greenwald... the article was kind of about how he's sort of obviously, you know, he's particularly fixated on the idea that the media would sort of censor and sort of make sure that the Hunter Biden laptop leak story didn't get out, which I can completely understand. On one hand, I totally understand that point of view. It is very weird. It just seems very controlled or coordinated, and it's sus why they would have why that all was so blocked in the media. However, on the other hand, Greenwald doesn't question the origin of it. He doesn't question if the Rudy Giuliani origin story, Rudy Giuliani origin story about it, if that's true or not. Now, I'm sure on some level it's not true, but maybe Hunter Biden was just a crack addict who left his laptop at a store. It's possible. I just don't personally believe it. It seems sketchy to me. But that doesn't mean that I think it's Russian disinformation or it's like some kind of foreign actor. But so the Greenwald's, the rest of his piece simultaneously sort of goes into this Chinese scholar who is, I guess, famous in China, who reveals his opinion about what he thinks is actually really going on between the dynamic between China and the U.S. And what he lays out is sort of very similar to what like the Epoch Times and these sort of neocon China hawks, and also similar to Steve Bannon, and also similar to what Matt Stoller, who's considered a leftist, he's considered a socialist. It's similar to his rhetoric as well, about how China is somehow controlling the United States via its relationship with Wall Street because of Chinese money and because of how big the Chinese GDP is and because of this sort of asymmetrical, it goes into this sort of asymmetrical warfare paradigm about how China is infiltrating all of our institutions to gain all this influence and stuff. Now, I guess what strikes me as particularly odd about Greenwald posting this is we've already seen multiple versions of the same narrative about Russia when Russiagate was at its peak, when the Russia hysteria was at its peak, where a Russian guy who's tapped into the Russian government would brag about being able to pull the strings in America or wield some kind of influence, or they're putting their thumb on the scale or something like that. And there would be like neoliberals, like Maddow and other people who'd freak out and be like, look at what, Surkov said, or look at what Dugin said. These like Russian academics who like work with Putin, to do X, Y, or Z. Look what they're saying about, they're basically validating all the things we're telling you about Russiagate. That's the kind of stuff they would do. So I'm really, really surprised that Greenwald has already started to descend into what I would describe as like completely fucking stupid Chinagate bullshit. Like super fast. It's like he's on a luge covered in Vaseline just flying down the Chinagate neocon pipeline. I don't know why he's doing it. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And it's really sad. And I don't even know. I used to think Greenwald's smarter than this. But now I just don't know anymore. Like, I'm just really confused. It's really bizarre. It's so fucking weird. What do you guys think about it? I mean, I'm already, like, obviously disappointed with Greenwald on a lot of different things. Him closing the Snowden archive, his mishandling of being able to explain why he let a billionaire swoop in and buy him and all these adversarial journalists out during the Snowden leaks. Just the way he responded to that was very inadequate in my mind, the criticisms of that. And him just not covering Syria and Ukraine from 2014 to 15 just seems there's really no excuse for that either. Seems kind of important to cover, and then just to sort of piggyback on what other people are saying about it later. It's just pretty weak. So just his experience in navigating those situations and his writing on those subjects is very weak in general. He didn't do very much at all to push back on any of that propaganda until Trump really entered the picture and the Russia thing all became about him. So, I don't really particularly think he did that much strong work on Russia or debunking Russiagate in general, mostly because I just feel that anyone really piggybacking on it that late doesn't have the best grasp on what's going on in general, unless they prove to me otherwise. Greenwald has proven to me that he doesn't. Someone like Aaron Mate, on the other hand, he sort of jumped on that without doing a lot of work on Ukraine and Russia leading up to it, but he does have a good grasp on it. So I see them different in that regard. But Aaron Monte's not out there blasting out Chinagate bullshit now. He's not turning around and being like, look at what this Chinese scholar is saying about fucking how they have control over the U.S. He's not doing anything that stupid. So that's what's crazy to me is like, why? Like, I don't even see Michael Tracy. Like, Michael Tracy, I don't even follow his tweets anymore. I don't even see what he says anymore, but I've lost a lot of respect for him over the years. I don't see him even doing that. But I don't even really have a standard for him. It's just like, why is Greenwald doing this? What's up with that shit? It confuses me. Nice, Alex. What do you think about the... Okay, let's bring up a controversial subject. This might be controversial. However, I think it's pretty much the final reveal that Tulsi Gabbard is some kind of right-wing plant of some kind, to be honest. Not just because Steve Bannon floated her for an appointment in the Trump administration, which is something that barely anybody talks about. It's like, why did that happen? We should talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. But what's up with the fucking... her 3 weeks away from leaving Congress doing a trans athlete ban? The fuck do you guys think about that? I mean... that seems really fucking weird to me. It seems like an issue that Joe Rogan has artificially been pushing for years on his program. And it does also seem simultaneously like UFC is part of some kind of sports flank of right-wing propaganda. Like a right-wing propaganda pipeline that somehow Dana White is participating in. And that's not just because Dana White is a fucking Trump bootlicking fucking cunt loser. It's because there's weird shit going on in the UFC politically. There's a lot of QAnoners in UFC. There's a far higher percentage of UFC fighters, retired or current, who are QAnoners than in any other sport I've seen, and that's really weird. That's weird in and of itself. Why are so many UFC fighters QAnoners? It's not only because of Eddie Bravo or people like Sam Tripoli who are like tapped into that scene. It's not just because of Joe Rogan. Why the fuck is that shit? That shit's weird. The UFC is fucking weird and fucked up. It's some weird shit. And for all of a sudden this argument to be about, oh, I care so much about fairness in sports that I don't want someone who's born biologically a male to have an unfair advantage in sports. To make that seem like some kind of valid argument. It's the most horseshit argument ever. Do you really think that these people are that they've been that concerned about fairness in sports ever before? That's how you know. That's the litmus test to know if someone is just using it as a wedge issue and got brainwashed by propaganda, which the right wing beautifully spins. Actually, I'm surprised they didn't use the sports issue 2 years ago. The trans bathroom issue, most people saw through that as a manipulative wedge issue. On the other hand, the sports trans issue is actually, strategically speaking, it could suck in people who are actually liberal and be like, yeah, I'm pro-trans, but sports that's a bridge too far for me. That is unfair. Like, it is sort of designed to manipulate people. It's actually kind of a smart wedge issue. Now, the question that I have is someone like Joe Rogan making this like a big issue. He talks about it all the time. He brings on a lot of like TERF women authors too. Like trans children he'll talk about, but it seems like his main thing is the trans sports thing. Now, what's interesting though is none of these people have the same attitude towards steroids. If you actually look into what Joe Rogan said about when people have gotten caught in UFC doing like crazy amounts of steroids and things that give you quote unquote unfair advantages, his attitude is actually much softer, which is kind of fascinating. The one thing that there's actually already bans for in sports that you're not allowed to do, that you can get kicked out for, Joe Rogan doesn't care as much about that. He cares more about trans athletes. And I think that's a particularly useful insight to know that it's disingenuous bullshit. Because if you really cared about fairness in sports, you would be talking about it more often than just being like, now this is a line for me. I don't want, and then at the same time, they'll show, Joe Rogan or someone like him will do the really sort of dirty right-wing bullshit where they'll be like, look at this guy, look at this woman who just looks like a dude with pigtails, lifting weights and winning a gold medal. Like, that's fucking unfair. Like, this is not a woman. It's like, dude, like, fuck you, dude. Like, that shit is just, it's so base level, reptile brain, like right wing. Like, they're combining sort of a liberal bait one about the unfairness of sports with like an optical right wing, like, look at that bitch with the pink hair, SJW kind of like reptile brain stuff. Like, they're combining those two things together, and I just think it's really gross. And I just see right through it, and I'm surprised that more people don't see through it. Like, it's one thing to be like, I don't know where I fall on this issue. I need to think about it more. But yeah, you're right. It is a right-wing wedge issue propaganda campaign. To me, I would respect that position more than people who are like taking the position where it's like, I'm pro-trans, but my exception is sports. Like, I just don't believe that's an organic thing. It's not organic. You've been brainwashed into believing that, essentially. Because when you really decouple yourself from the propaganda matrix for a second, you can just see that it's sort of being forced on you. It's like, well, did you think about this? This one's unfair. Like, boom! It's like a total, like, I mean, it is kind of a smart, right-wing, intellectual, dark web-ish way to weasel in to people's sort of thought process and be like, no, actually, you're going to veer to the right on this one because we're going to sort of, we've set up the framing already to kind of trick you a little bit. Yeah, Jenny Lynn, there are disingenuous people on both sides of this issue, which is what Jenny just said. That should not be in front of the convo. People are starving and dying, and our government is completely criminal, which brings me again back to the fact that Tulsi Gabbard's bill that she wants to be remembered for 3 weeks before leaving Congress is an anti-trans athlete bill that applies to high school students also in the middle of a pandemic where everybody is about to fucking get evicted and lose their jobs, and a lot of people are literally starving. Like, that is fucking dark, crazy level scumbag bullshit. If that doesn't show you what Tulsi Gabbard really is, I don't really know what will. That's fucking, like, dark shit. It really is. It's just disturbing to me, And, I don't have any, like, friendly feelings towards AOC. But at least she's in the middle of that debate, even if she's coming out incorrectly and fucking up and saying stupid shit all the time and being a total Democrat apologist shill constantly. She's at least in the middle of that debate. Where's Tulsi on that shit? Oh, is that true, Blaster Master? I didn't know that. I didn't know it only applied to trans women, not trans men. Are you sure about that? That's very interesting if that's the case. I had no idea. Who's Maynard James Keenan? Is that the guy from Tool? Is that who that is? Don't want to offend anybody in this channel, but I think Tool is one of the most overrated bands from the 90s. But I do respect them. I don't think they're bad. I just never got the appeal. I like their music videos, some of their music videos, like the Claymation one from like 90s. But like, I'm more of a Primus 9 Inch Nails guy if we're talking like sort of culty 90s, edgy alternative rock. Never got into Tool. I even actually managed to skip the side project of his thing. It's not called Tool. He had a side project at one point before they opened for 9 Inch Nails once. Sacred geometry, bro. Says level Anchorage. You fuck. That's hilarious. You're hilarious. I feel like we get along in real life. And dude, did anybody like figure out the thing when you were like in high school and like you had that Tool album where you took out like the tray? And dude, guess what's behind the tray? It's a picture of a dude sucking his own dick, man. That's fucking crazy, dude. Check that shit out, dude. That shit's nuts, bro. Did you ever see a guy sucking his own dick? Yeah, Tool. Sorry, the more I think about Tool, the more I they annoy the fuck out of me. The fact that the guy has a winery too is really lame. The celebrity winery thing is just bullshitty. It's stupid. One thing I was talking to Danny Haifong about yesterday was, in light of seemingly an infiltration into the left of anti-China rhetoric, an increasingly intense infiltration, I would say, now that Greenwald is actually writing articles. I mean, even before Biden gets office, he's already writing Chinagate articles. He's potentially the first quasi-leftist to write a Chinagate article about Joe Biden before he gets in office. That's tip of the spear kind of Chinagate-y shit. I don't think we can take that lightly. Greenwald has an enormous amount of influence in the way that people on the left and the anti-imperialist scene think. Even people on the libertarian scene think. So now that that's happening, we have to sort of contend with that. I mean, I'm really committed at this point to trying to debunk all this disinformation about China. The Uyghur thing is something that I have a little bit more of a difficulty dealing with rhetorically, because I don't know what's actually going on there. What I do know is that the way that the Western media talks about it is probably not actually the truth, but at the same time, I'm never going to be one of those people who says that China has some reason to lock up a bunch of people because they think that they're terrorists or something like that. You're never going to ever hear me say anything like that. And that's something that I've even disagreed with people from Gray Zone, like Blumenthal and, other people who write for Gray Zone, about the way that they talked about Syria. My issue with Syria was always that the U.S. was intervening, period. It was never about that the U.S. is using people who are Islamic extremists to fight Assad. I thought that that was actually a poor, potentially even toxic way to frame the argument that could, by design, it's sort of like, well, let's get all these right-wing people on board with us by making it all about jihadists. And it kind of worked. But it's kind of like monkey paw. You can make a wish from a monkey paw, but then bad shit happens. So that's kind of how I see that rhetorical framing. And I see that sometimes leftists and anti-imperialists will go down that road a little bit with the Uyghur thing in China. And while I do think we need to have a nuanced discussion about these groups that the CIA could potentially be funding, this is State Department. I think it was a State Department that took off the East Turkmenistan something or other off of the terrorist watch list recently, which sort of signaled to people that they are going to be using a contingent of people who identify as Uyghur in China. I haven't made that leap. I don't know enough about the situation. What I do know is that there are plenty of things that you can address about the increasingly hostile rhetoric towards China that's happening here. And you could remind people that our focus should be on the United States, U.S. oligarchs, U.S. corporations, U.S. Wall Street forces, the U.S. military-industrial complex still manage the world. China doesn't have military bases all over the world. China doesn't have the largest military budget in the world. China may have a lot of economic influence, but that's just one piece. So and I don't even mean that in terms of they have a bunch of economic influence over us. A lot of people have economic influence over the United States economy and the way that the stock market, goes and things like that. But I think a lot of this propaganda, especially, which is interesting, because saying that Russia, making everything about Russia and making it all about Putin and how Trump is controlled by Putin and how the administration is controlled by Putin, that sort of takes the focus away from like U.S. autonomy, and also making a big deal about like Crimea. Making as big of a deal as we did about Crimea, in essence, takes away people's memory and focus away from them, how many countries we've invaded and how many like illegal military things we've done, just like completely imperialist crap. But the China thing is really interesting because when it gets into the left discussions, like when people like Greenwald and Matt Stoller are bringing it into left discussions, they're trying to link it together with like the oligarchy is somehow in leagues with China, or is like maybe even being like controlled or puppeted by them. Like the oligarchy, the ruling class in the United States is like in bed with China. Like Glenn Greenwald literally says that, not in his article itself, but if you scroll down the Substack article that I'm talking about, in the comments section, he actually says, first he says the Biden administration is in bed with China. But he's also implying that Wall Street's in bed with China. And I just think that this notion, this narrative, is by design meant to be some kind of infiltrating rhetoric to get you to take your focus away from the autonomy that Wall Street here has and that the U.S. ruling class has, and the imperial footprint that they have basically as being part of this sort of more overall deep state system, that where capital needs to be maintained by all these different sort of forces, corporate and government, in confluence with each other. So it's just, I just find it awfully strange because, Glenn Greenwald likes to talk about the deep state, but does he, the way that like right wingers essentially will talk about the deep state now, like MAGA people, is they think China is part of it. Like they think the globalists and China and the Democrats and the deep state are all against the like right-wing populists, like the Trump movement, the right wing, the Republicans. Even though they don't promote Republicans, in essence, that's sort of what the paradigm creates, is this idea that it's all those forces in concert against them. Dave DeCobb, fantastic. And you know what? He's got a lot bigger balls than a lot of other people this seed, because it does take courage to call out publicly someone like Glenn Greenwald. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not going to win you any friends. Actually, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to lose you people. It's going to lose followers. It's going to make people be like, why is this guy attacking one of my heroes? Like, I don't know who this guy Dave is. I've just followed him yesterday, and now he's attacking Glenn Greenwald. So I really have to give it to Dave for, like, sticking his neck out there. Like, he got into it with Greenwald about the China gating stuff yesterday or a couple days ago. And he didn't back down. And the stuff Greenwald was saying was, I think it was kind of moving the goalposts, and actually, in a weird way, I think Greenwald actually had to reflect. Seemed like he took some time to reflect on some of his responses, and he kind of moved the goalposts a little bit. and what he was saying to Dave. So I don't know what Dave's like final word was to him, but I don't think Greenwald knows what the hell he's talking about. And I think it's really obvious that by just that exchange, the way he moved the goalposts around and the points that he leans on, is he is out of his depth. And someone like Dave, you know, whether you're familiar with his work or not, actually has a much stronger knowledge base about the Chinese-U.S. dynamic than Grant Greenwald does. It's clear. I interviewed Dave on Media Roots, and it was really informative to me. I mean, even just some of the Taiwan stuff might be basic to a lot of people, but some of it I didn't even really quite grasp until Dave explained it to me. I mean, he understands the whole situation. And he's totally nonpartisan about it too. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the reason I even bring up Greenwald so much is because I think he's going to actually move the needle on the subject and get people on the left to start adopting his position. He's going to get libertarians to adopt his position. You know what's actually weird? What is Ron Paul's position on this? What's Ron Paul's position on China and the situation right now? What was his position in the 90s on China? In fact, what was Pat Buchanan's position on China in the 90s? Here's my theory. I believe there was a faction of neocons and maybe even some paleocons, like Pat Buchanan, for example, in the 90s, and even Democrats, neoliberal Democrats like Clinton, who wanted to pivot, who were like starting, there was like a split where some people wanted to pivot sort of towards a less adversarial relationship with China, and other people wanted to pivot into a more adversarial relationship with China. In fact, PNAC's Rebuilding America's Defenses is mostly about China. If you go back and read it, the country that comes up more than any other country in the document is China. So my theory is that what we're sort of witnessing is over the past 20 years, pretty much since 9/11, we have been witnessing the ramp up towards hostilities with China be put on pause by factions of the ruling class here in the United States. And now they're being taken off pause. That ramp up that started in the late 90s, sort of the anti-Clinton faction and some of the neocons as well, who were pro-Clinton at times when he bombed places they wanted him to bomb, were ramping up things towards China in the late 90s. And I think it was put on pause. For some reason, the geostrategic global pivot point was, but a lot of people could even make the argument that Afghanistan is about China. The war in Afghanistan is essentially to landlock China out of the part of the One Road, One Belt initiative. Because as long as the United States occupies it, China can't do the things that they wanted to do there, apparently. What do you mean, Brock? Brock says, I mean the real Chinagate was in 1986. Explain. Bird Worldist mentions Justin Raimondo. Yeah, Justin Raimondo, it was really sad for me because he started following me on Twitter. I was already a big fan of his stuff. I had followed him for a long time. And then he just would start to get into it with me when I would go after Trump too hard on Twitter. And I remember like the straw that broke the camel's back, I think when he like stopped following me was maybe even when I tweeted something out about how Ann Coulter was a neocon and she doesn't have the right to act like she's against neocons now because she fucking was one of the biggest Iraq war cheerleaders in the early 2000s. So he stopped following me, and then he just started getting like, it was sad because like, I don't know. Yeah, to like be a really big fan of someone and then you start to interact with them sort of on a personal level, and then they sort of get really upset at your political opinions to the point where the last time I interacted with Raymondo, he was tweeting at me I was a commie. And I'm not even a socialist. I don't even a democratic. So I mean, like, I don't even identify that way. So it was just sad. It made me sad. And here we are. Just this coordinate did not fucking work. These coordinates in this game, by the way. It's very obvious that something happening. It's a glitch. Didn't take the coordinates. Well, he didn't block me, a bird, so I'm sorry that happened to you. I was also sad. I don't know if I've said this story on here. I don't know if this is like even kosher to talk about, if it's disrespectful. I mean, I really respected Raymondo. I didn't care for a lot of the things that he said in the last few years, but I still have huge amount of respect for him. The last time I interacted with Mike Rupert, actually, early on when I first started doing this work, a lot of the people I would talk to would be like, "Hey, I'm Abby Martin's brother, like my sister's a big fan." I would use her as sort of an introduction because I would assume someone like Mike Rupert already knew who she was, and he did, and they would talk a lot. Like he was big into breaking the set. So I remember I tried to reach out to him about Paul Wellstone and get some more details on the Paul Wellstone stuff, and ask him for suggestions on where to like read more about the theory that Paul Wellstone was killed because of his views on 9/11. And it kind of just broke my heart. He was so rude and so like unnecessarily like mean to me, and the responses that like it just kind of like, it's like, oh wow. And I honestly think that he didn't even read me saying that I was Abby Martin's brother, because I think that if he did, he probably would have he wouldn't have wanted to upset Abby. Like he probably just skipped past it or something. But it was like, oh, Mike, like, man, that's sad. And then he passed away like 6 months later. That was the only time I really had any interactions with him. But it's like, who has the, you don't, just because someone's reachable on Facebook, you don't have like the right to have them treat you kindly. People can be fucking jerks if they want to, It's fine. I'm looking up here to see what people are saying. Emu sings, I bet if you had a daughter, you'd think differently. Emu sings, what are you referring to? Are you watching us talking about the trans athletes thing from like an hour ago? Luis, yeah, one of the earlier theories that was floating around in the 9/11 movement is actually one of the more speculative ones that Mike Rupert picked up on in his book, Crossing the Rubicon, was the idea that Paul Wellstone had threatened Bush or Cheney and their 9/11 narrative in some way that was strong enough for them basically to figure out a way to crash his airplane. I don't know if Mike Rupert goes into the details, like mechanical details of how that happened. But that was generally speaking his theory. And Alex Jones sort of stole Mike Rupert's theory. And Alex Jones, of course, even made it like more watered down and probably got things wrong. In fact, I just had a memory today of how many things Alex Jones used to get wrong that he would talk about, like about Freemasons. Like the amount of times Alex Jones says that there are 333 degrees of Freemasonry, and that the ones after the 33rd degree are like all secret, and that like they're just really, really secret degrees, and there's actually 333 degrees. I mean, I don't know if he pulled that out of his ass. I have never, ever seen anything even referencing anything like that in all my research of Freemasonry. And if anyone's listened to my podcast series, I hope you can at least understand that I've done a lot of research, and I feel like I would have come across something like that by now. I feel like he just picked it up from some other conspiracy idiot, or he made it up completely out of his ass. I have no idea where that comes from. Anyways, the tangent I was going off on. I heard a clip of Alex Jones today that an old Howard Stern, I think he was like a whackpacker maybe even, or he would have, I don't know if he would call himself a whackpacker, but Howard Stern probably would have. A guy named Hansi, maybe he's been in this chat before actually. He watches the show sometimes. Howard Stern had Hansi argue with Alex Jones live on the air once, like in 2004 or something. And in the argument, Alex Jones and him talk about the Illuminati for a second, and Howard Stern's like, "Yeah, Hansi believes in the Illuminati. What do you think about that, Alex? Like, do you believe in that theory?" And Alex Jones is like, "Yeah, in fact, George Washington, he battled with the Illuminati. He had a really public battle with the Illuminati, and it was a very public event. And George Washington, of course, was very against Illuminati." And then he's like, goes on, and it's like, and then he eventually sort of reveals that he's talking about the George Washington letters, where George Washington is asked about the Illuminati. Now, as someone who literally just like recited all these letters on the podcast verbatim, it's absolutely not what George Washington's talking about at all. He doesn't battle with the Illuminati. He barely talks about them in the letters. He's actually in a defensive mode because this guy is messaging him saying, "Have you heard about this group, the Illuminati, that took over the Freemasons? Maybe you should check on the Freemasons that, you have such a prominence in the United States. If the Illuminati took over the Freemasons in Europe, then maybe they've already taken over all the lodges that you preside over." Because this guy was a reverend that, in his mind, he saw George Washington as like the most famous Freemason. That is absolutely not what Alex Jones says. So that's what's so funny, that it's just like, even just the little things Alex Jones talks about. Literally like two things that I randomly remember Alex Jones saying about Freemasons, completely either distorted from the historical record to the point where his spin is so nonsensical about what George Washington actually really did, or it's just made up, pulled out of his ass. So to me, that's just a great example of what Alex Jones has probably done with every single subject. So just assume, if you've remembered anything from the Alex Jones show back in the day about Freemasons or pretty much anything, even Oklahoma City bombing, like stuff like that, like, don't trust anything he ever said, because it's probably all disinformation or just like misremembered bullshit. Even if he's not controlled opposition, he's like a total just clown. He knows people probably won't go and research this stuff. If he sounds authoritative, that's why he started saying all the time, "My sources. I have these insider sources," because he probably wasn't able to just construct his own conspiracy narratives like based on like things like Freemasons anymore without people catching on. Because eventually someone's going to be like, "Alex, where did you get that 333 degree thing from?" Nowadays he'd probably be like, "Oh, I know someone who's like an insider in the Grand Lodge of, Texas and blah, blah, blah." Like he might say something like that. But before, he would have just said it. So that's what I think. I don't even know. Looking at Alex Jones. George Washington does have the good bone broth, Kevin Dugan. He owned 100 slaves, which is kind of disturbing to think about, because if you own that many slaves, you've probably like buried a few slaves that have like died while working for you. I mean, how many families and people were raised in his captivity, essentially, that like died? I mean, it's just so super creepy to think of like George Washington. You know, did he make his other slaves bury the slaves who died? Like, how fucked up did it actually get? He was the richest man in the United States with a plantation of over 100 slaves. I mean, that's a pretty big setup. It is kind of Django Unchained kind of style. Like, I mean, I kind of almost want to see a movie where it's just like about George Washington being like a slave plantation manager. Be really creepy. And he wore dentures made partly from human teeth and gold. And people think that some of the human teeth were from slaves. Could be from dead people. Could be pulled out of living slaves' mouths. Who knows? Mike Frame, yeah. Mozart actually got initiated into the Masons. I think he took either the first or the second degrees in a Blue Lodge in Austria, I believe. And once he was in, I don't talk about this on the podcast because it's not really American Masonic history, but it's really interesting. And apparently he became on the outs with part of the Austrian aristocracy, I think. Mozart was a very divisive character. A lot of the things in Amadeus are based on real things that he did. But one of the things in Amadeus that he really did do was he wrote an opera. So he wrote a bunch of music for Freemasons. Before, during, and even after he left Freemasonry. But when the aristocracy sort of turned on him and he had a falling out, he wrote an actual whole opera that has a section that's mocking Freemasons. Because he was like angry at what had happened to him. And a lot of people, and it wasn't just the Freemasons, but basically the aristocracy, parts of the aristocracy in Europe, he had burned so many bridges that he died with a pauper's death, apparently in an unmarked grave, because that's how many bridges he had burned and how his relationships had soured with people over time. And that's generally a true story that's in Amadeus. The Salieri stuff is not, is obviously like embellished, but there's aspects of that movie, that play, that are real. Oh, is there really Furious Psyop? I wish I would have known that. Furious Psyop, who's our mod of the channel, says that there's historical documentation of Washington paying slaves to take their teeth and use them in his dentures. That is really interesting. I didn't know there was actual documentation of that. So I wish I would have known that for it. Kevin Dogan, no, that's not correct. Kevin Dugan says the modern prison system and Gitmo are far worse than how any slaves were. No. Slaves' lives were. That's definitely not true. I mean, the slave ships alone make that statement completely false. People died in horrible, deplorable conditions while being basically sent over here in chains. I mean, so I don't know what you mean by that. Lewis says, was Ben Franklin a serial killer? That's my question, Lewis. That is my question. Historians say, well, no, he was obviously practicing medicine, so that, the child skeletons are just from a graveyard. He was practicing medicine at the location that the bodies were found at, so that's where we're going to go with. That's a pretty funny sort of just, I don't know how people were so sure of that. I don't know if Ben Franklin's a serial killer. I don't know what the bodies were from. Maybe he was fucking them. I have no idea. He could have been doing anything to them. Maybe he was doing medicine on them. But let's just say he was. Even if he was doing medicine, anatomy lessons on grave-robbed corpses, that's pretty fucked up. Even if that's what he was doing, that's like, who does that? You can't just get a rotting corpse from a graveyard. I mean, maybe, I don't know if they embalmed people back then. Maybe they did, but like, getting a corpse from a grave and doing anatomy on it and teaching people just seems like an awfully crazy thing to do. It's almost trying to be like, he was so cutting edge, and, medicine was frowned upon back then because people thought it was sacrilegious to cut up dead bodies and do autopsies. So he had to steal the bodies and then, do it it's just kind of a weird sort of roundabout way of rationalizing why there's so many bodies. I mean, because there are I think there's over 13 corpses underneath Benjamin Franklin's home. About half of them children. So yeah, I mean, you could look that up. I don't really know the exact reasoning, how they explain it, but it's something along the lines of what I just said. Oh, I have to turn autopilot on. I have to turn autopilot on. That's what I have to do. Holy shit. Yes. Yes. Come on. Come on. Check that shit out. We're flying to Bogart something's house. Dago, something like that. Blazer Dago. I don't remember. 6-hour stream, dude. I don't know who Diego Rivera was. Who's Diego Rivera? You gotta tell me. I still can't. Is it taking me to the destination? Seems like it is, kind of, right? I'm gonna land now. Sweet! Look at that. I'm landing. Finally. Oh, that Diego Rivera. Got it. He was a cannibal? Does that prove it? That's pretty wild. Never heard that before. Never heard that. It doesn't sound true, but I don't know. I've never heard it. It's kind of a surprising, random historical fact. What the fuck? Wait, what? You fucking kidding me? What's happening, dude? Shit. I didn't realize it was an action sequence. I'm gonna get the joystick for this. Ah, shit. Kind of has a narc vibe. Forgotten this part. I actually don't remember playing the original. Fuck! I don't. No way. Don't tell me I fucking have to play the game again. I think I didn't save my game, guys. So I have to, like, it's, oh man. I need to be really careful with DOS games, I guess, running on emulators. I just didn't realize how much of a fucking pain in the ass it was going to be. Yeah, I'm at the beginning of the game again. That's a shame. Okay, well, at least I know what to do next time I play. And if I do play this again, I'll just make sure I either save a state. Yeah, it has save state on it, which is nice. I should have put it in a window before and done that. Is there let me see this for a second. Is there a button, like, for people out there who use PCs? So I know Alt-Enter does full screen, turn something from a window to full screen, but what is it? Is there a key to do the opposite? Like turn something from full screen to window? Anyone want to help me out with that? Because I feel like if I was able to do that on this emulator, I can save a state and then sort of progress through the game that way. That's the only reliable way to do it, because it doesn't actually save on a real hard drive. It's like a virtual, it's running like DOS off of like a virtual machine. Escape's not working. Try control F9. There's no other hotkey to do that? Oh. For some reason, Alt-Enter, pressing Alt-Enter again worked. Okay. Well, any other last minute game choices? Spaceballs. I saw that in the theater. I think my dad took me to see that. Well, this looks like shit. What the fuck? This looks awful. I want to play this. $1983. Wow.
Loading complete.
What mood gen engine, Brock? What are you referring to?
Main target dead ahead. Get the bombers before they scramble.
Dude, this is hard as shit. Wait, do I have a cursor? No, I don't. It's just all like this type of thing. Shit!
Jackpot captures an enemy naval base. Let's blow up everything in sight.
Fuck! I'll try the first person version. Looks better.
Approaching the first target, Captain. Target in sight. Let's get him.
Shit.
Take out that bridge.
Shit. It's hard. What else do I have on here? What's this shit? I keep seeing this on here and I can't remember if I tried playing this
Loading
one yet or not.
complete.
It looks silly as fuck. Oh, it's a 4-player game. That's pretty cool. Let's see. And the controllers must be... Oh, no, wait. It worked that time. That's weird. I didn't mean to pick that guy. It's got lyrics. Cool. I think I know which buttons to press. Okay, I just gotta like tap the buttons super quick. I still didn't win though. Why is it fucking getting so much faster than me? God damn it. What? Oh shit. Oh, that's it. Oh, fuck. Okay, so that game requires like a lot of force and rapid firing, so I accidentally hit the exit button while I was playing it. Whoops. Okay. Live and learn. This game looks cool. Let's play Mad Motor.
Loading
Mad
complete.
Motor in. No, SCTV is Canadian as fuck. SCTV is so good. I love SCTV. Whoa, I'm like a monster? Oh, dude, this is great. This game's great. How come I never played this before? I'm a fucking monster now. Yeah. What do I do? Now I'm just a normal guy again. Fuck. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Fuck yeah. Game has really forgiving hitboxes and gameplay. It's like definitely not a one-hit kills game. I don't even know how you get killed exactly. I don't think you have health, so I'm not quite sure what the actual like mechanic is. It just seems like it's got this weird collision-y, gravity kind of situation going on. Shit, I died.
Let's go.
Is that a helicopter up there shooting missiles? Can I attack it?
You're dead.
Okay.
Let's go.
Seems like you just have to hit him pretty much on the... It's just hard to get to them is the issue. Everything's all bouncy, and when you hit the wheel, you just keep bouncing off. So you gotta, like, go right. You gotta get him like that. This guy's, like, laid back in his car. What?
Let's go.
They should have just made like a Mad Max arcade game that was in this style. It'd be so cool. Like a Road Warrior arcade game from like 1989. Should have just reskinned this game and just made a Road Warrior. Fuck it. Would have been great. Just seems like that's totally random. Somehow makes the game really fun and worth it playing through is when you get to this mode right here. Really satisfying. Whoa, it's a crazy like kick drum FM synth. Weird graphics though.
Let's go.
It's a two-player game? Oh, it is. It's a two-player game. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. It's got a similar... I guess it has a similar vibe to a beat-em-up. A little different. I like those drums. So it's just the same like selfie of the guy every time killing the boss. Pretty silly. No. Player 2. Love it. Tearing up the road. Monster mode. Oh, what? I don't understand. Okay, this is gonna be my last play. I'm not gonna continue after this. Oh, I do have life. I do have health. I just saw it just now. Now I understand. Now I get it. Well, it was a fun random game to pull up. What was this one called? Mad Motor. Okay, I'll have to remember that. I still don't know how to I'm gonna take a picture of it actually, so I remember. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching MAME Politics episode 98. We'll play Mean Streets again, and I'll pick up where I left off. Definitely interested in playing that game some more, and any other adventure games you guys want to recommend to me that I could sort of slowly play through and chat with you guys. That would be fun. So I'm gonna give the MAME Politics Discord invite link out one more time in the chat, and if you have any game suggestions, just put them into the chat, into the Discord channel. Oh, whoops. That's just the address for the channel. I need to give you the invite code. God, I'm so bad with this stuff sometimes. All right. So this is the invite code for Discord, the MAME Politics Discord. Come on in, recommend some games. Everybody here can continue chatting in there. And yeah, so seems like there's a decent amount of chat going on in that channel, which is cool. And it's always active. So thanks again, and have a good rest of your Saturday night, everybody. And if you want access to all of the previous 97, well, now 98 episodes of MAME Politics, you can get access to some of them just by subscribing to the YouTube channel, which you should do anyways if you like watching the show live, so you can be notified when it comes live. But if you want access to all of the episodes, you can become a Patreon subscriber of mine at patreon.com/RobbieMartin, and that gives you instant access to links to all of the episodes. I'd say a little, maybe like 1/3 or under a half of them are hidden. So if you just want to have access to all of them, become a Patreon subscriber. Otherwise, you can just go on YouTube, on my YouTube page right now, and access all the rest of the ones that are still up there publicly. And there's plenty of episodes there. There's a lot of, I think I saved some of the best games for the public episodes. So yeah, I know times are hard, so I don't, I hope I'm not trying to pressure any of you guys to subscribe on Patreon if you're not already. And I really appreciate those of you who already do. But yeah, I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and yeah, also if you want access to the Media Roots Discord, let me know in MAME Politics. If you like, that's actually accessible to our Media Roots subscribers, but I think it would be cool if you guys were in there, and I don't care if you're subscribers to Media Roots or not. The community in there needs a little more activity, and it seems like the MAME Politics chat is already pretty active, so let's bring some of that energy into the Media Roots channel. All right, guys, good night, take care, and we'll see each other soon. Probably we'll do this on Monday. Good night.